The story breaking just within the past 2 hours, and NBC News justice correspondent Pete Williams joins us from Washington with more. Pete?
Well, Michael, it's unusual in a couple of senses. First of all, as your reporter just said, two of these men are in their 50s, the two from West Palm Beach. That's somewhat unusual. The second thing is that the FBI has had its eye on these three for at least a year, since last April of 2015. That's how long they've been watching them, and they only decided to make the arrest when one of them took action, which is Hubbard tried to fly to Germany so he could then take a train into Turkey and get into Syria. So they made the arrest once the men actually took action. But for the past several months, the agents have been watching them. They've been to a shooting range in the South Florida area. They've been to a wildlife management area to do target practice. The FBI has been extensively monitoring their communications. The FBI says that they referred to ISIS as using code words. ISIS was the soccer team, and playing soccer was joining ISIS. They say that Hubbard loudly last December on the day of the San Bernardino shootings was in a restaurant when it happened, and he stood up and he said, "I don't care how many Americans are killed." They talked approvingly, the FBI says, these three men, about the 2009 killings at Fort Hood, Texas. And Christian also talked about shooting U.S. military people that he saw at the gym, and the FBI says that Hubbard talked about trying to attack the Pentagon or the White House, but clearly that was just grandiose talk. The charge here is that the two men, Christian and Jackson, helped Hubbard try to get to Syria. So this is what has come to be known as a traveler case, people trying to get overseas to join Syria. And one other thing to say, Michael, is the number of these traveler cases is way down in the last several months. There were lots of them last year. They're way down substantially this year. Why that is a good question. There are many people in law enforcement who think that the appeal of ISIS to people in the U.S. is tarnished.
Pete, understanding how very early it is in the investigation and that every question is an open question, but already we're being asked, is there anything substantive early on that suggests these three were part of a wider cell or that more arrest might be imminent based out of this particular investigation?
No, and candidly, we heard about this case yesterday and were asked not to report it. I think they were seeing if one of the men would cooperate. Now, the court document does say that Christian admitted that he had weapons. He was arrested in 2009. He served a year and a day in prison for possession, for lying to the ATF about buying guns through the mail. So he was already known to law enforcement. How much more any of them are cooperating, we don't know, but there's no indication here that anyone else was involved with these three.
As always, thank you for your perspective. NBC News Justice Correspondent Pete Williams.
You bet.